$1,262. That also affects the extracurricular salary for anybody that's a sponsor of an organization. That also is a percentage increase there as well. The thing that the TAB committee wanted that I had looked at was some longevity steps. And what I was able to do with this budget is at year 6 and at year 21 to add extra money to that $360 down and give longevity steps. So at year 6 it's a 410, and then at year 21 it's 720. I doubled that, doubled the 360. So in the future the district can toy with those numbers, and you know, you may increase that 410 to 500. You may increase that 720 to 1,000. So there's, or you can put some at step 5, or you can put step 15. So you'll have that ability. I sent you an example. A teacher with 18 years of experience would receive $796.20. So it's not the 200. It's the 410. It's the 200. It's the insurance. It's all that would be $796.20. A teacher with over 20 years of experience would see an increase of $1,154.20, including the district coverage insurance, and that does not count what money they take out for their spouse's insurance or anything like that. But that's the.
So you're saying the insurance is not added into
Yes,
that
the
amount?
insurance is added because
Oh, it
you
is
can.
added.
Because you can.
Okay.
It counts as a benefit
Yes,
in
I'm-
retirement.
yeah.
So overall, I think the thing that probably needs to be noted is the budget approved tonight. This budget would be a deficit budget with expected expenses exceeding revenues if all funds were expended. It's estimated that the fund balance would be around 18.6 June 2017. I will correct that here in just a moment with another comment. I budgeted the SAT target of 6,110. Used last year to figure, and used last year's assessed valuation figures. Some in DESE have said that the SAT is not going to be 6,110; it's going to be lower than that. So I may have outkicked my coverage on that, but we'll go with that. Here's probably the thing that you need to be noted. Projected revenues. I'm projecting revenues to increase $147,000 from last year. Projected 147,000. Make it 150. Projected expenses for salaries, because I'm doing salaries only, is 206. I'm already overspending.
With what you proposed here.
What's what I'm proposing?
Was how many?
206. So kind of give you an idea of how close you can get to 206. Giving staff that were able to move steps, it costs $78,000. Putting $200 on the base, well, that's a little, $31,900. Adding those longevity steps added $20,500. Paying 100% of insurance costs $33,270. The $200 on the base affects your stipends, which increase that by $14,800. Guesstimate of about $12,000 on classified changes. An estimate of about $15,000 for the district picking up title money that is no longer being given to us. So we pick up what's left. We have teachers that are paid through title funds, and it only pays 80% of their salary. We pick up the rest. That gets you to 205. So I got you real close to where that 206 is coming from. I have not touched supply money, textbook money in 6 years. I've budgeted the same amount ever. The only changes that I've ever made has always been in salaries, minor things. Here's the note of importance. Without the bond issue this year, remember those figures? Without the bond issue this year, revenues and expenditures, the budget would have been in the red close to $600,000. So,
Because the bus barn burning down.
bus barn burning down, and they didn't 100% insure that. We had 3 buses that burned, bought new ones, but were on a payment plan, things like that. So close to $600,000, $500,000, $500,000. So I'm cautious with our estimated balances that I showed you at the end, that we might end next year at 15 to 16% of reserves, which is the lowest it's been in a while. So with that,
You're projecting 70%.
I'm projecting, in my first sentence up here, I projected 18. That after I got the balances today, when Joyce figured out the balances, I looked at it again and I would say 15 to 16. And that, again, that depends on if you spend every dime out of every account.
And recommended is what?
Recommended is 20. So based on the estimations of revenues from local and state resources, the district expenditures, I recommend the budget presented. It is a deficit budget, but I'm going to encourage administrators and directors to be aware of their allotted budgeted amounts and make sure
They try to
that
save wherever they can.
any expenditures that they have, that they make sure that if they're warranted. I mean, if it's for kids, obviously, yes.
Is there going to be a way to recover that?
My hope is our enrollment increases,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
my hope is our Prop C revenue and our gaming revenue and things, because again, 50% of our budget comes from the state department, so.
But that Prop C and classroom trust has kind of stayed fairly consistent, you know. Now, the issue is the enrollment is continuing to
Yeah.
drop, so, and we go back 3 years, is
Yeah,
that correct?
Right,
So-
we are always, we have been so far, we're one of those districts that we've been basing our revenue on that third year, that last year. A couple years ago, I estimated our enrollment, and I did for about 5 months, and then our enrollment got to where it flipped back over on the previous year, so we did that, we do that. So, you know, like I cautioned you that last month, if we ever hit this year, the current school year that ended, if we ever hit that enrollment, we're down 75 students. So just a ballpark figure, take $5,000 times 75 and take that off. And that's what you're not going to get.
Yeah.
Are we, you know, in dire straits? Obviously, you're not, but I don't like 15 to 16% reserves. I mean, I like 20, I like 25, I like 35. But we're just not in that situation here.
It's 375,000.
Do we have any indication that enrollment is gonna change?
We never know.
I know, but I mean, is there anything positive out there? Cause I'm not hearing it if there is.
The only thing is, you know, I went to a meeting with ASI, the plant, and they told us that they're going to be employing possibly, they're 100 now, 100 more people next year about this time. So, again, are they going to be driving here, or are they going to be living here? I don't really know.
Do we?
Right there in that area.
Mr. McCracken, do you have a copy of the new pay scale that you sent me? Do you have that in writing? Because I'm looking at it on my phone and it doesn't show the raises that you described. And I'm just wondering, maybe my eyes aren't good. I mean, I'm perfect, because I'm seeing, when I look at like step 18 from last year's was 42,145. And step 18 for this year is 42,395, which is only a $250 raise.
That's not right. I mean, it's
Right.
what we do is when it's the figures that I have in my
Okay.
spreadsheet for teacher X
Right.
goes into SIS, and her and I cross-reference, and we've got to have the same numbers. So I'm not sure what.
Okay, this was the pay scale that you sent me today. Maybe I was reading it wrong.
Well, also the figures as far as the way that it's being drawn in, there's numbers
Yeah,
numbers
and-
over here that are drawing, those are
Okay, so
drawn
that's
in
what I was
there.
confused. So this is just an extra bonus at that step,
Yeah.
so it's not gonna change step
that may be
7?
how come your thing's not working in SIS.
Because shouldn't this change what's the next step below it is too?
It goes back to 3.
It goes back to 360.
Right, but it would be 360 on top of whatever 6 years was also, correct? It wouldn't-
No,
No.
right at year 6. When you reach year 6, that's the
360.
410 or 21. That's
Whatever, okay.
720. And then the next year, if you're 22, you go 360, 360, 360, 360.
So we're above what you proposed last time, the
I
average
think-
is $600. It's gonna be
Yeah.
above that,
Okay,
okay.
that's kind of what I was just.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause it, I mean, when I look at this, it just looks like,
Yeah,
You better ask.
yep,
The steps, okay, because I'm not a teacher and so I haven't been through this. When they get the money, does they get that every year or do they only get that just the
here's a
one
pay
year?
scale.
Well, but
It goes.
the first thing, that yeah, the way the salary schedule uses, let's say that I am a teacher with a master's degree, and I got a master's degree right out of college.
See,
Okay.
So I'm year
So,
one, and I go
master's
down.
plus. So here's master's. So then you go down to 8, step 8.
that means you've been teaching for 8 years.
Yeah,
So then the next year you go down, because now you've been teaching for 9 years.
You don't
But you
necessarily
could
go
also,
across.
you could
You don't-
move over.
you could've
if
go
took
across if you
hours,
took more
if you
college.
took hours.
So if we take these longevity deals and put them in, you will just get it for that year, but it would add on to the
Right.
rest of it.
right. I'm a teacher that's
Okay, I
taught
don't
21
understand.
years or
If it
22
don't
goes
years.
for that year, then how do you get
No.
it for the rest of them?
Because it actually adds on to your salary. They won't take that away at the next
Oh,
year, it
okay,
adds on.
to your
Because
salary.
you would not get another 6,000 the next year.
Okay.
You would get it the next whatever the next year was.
So if I've taught 22 years, I'll also get the year 6 longevity step and the year 21 longevity step. So I get
Well,
whatever that figure is, $800 and something dollars, plus the 200 of the base.
you
So I
get
all-
1,000 is what it amounts to.
You get 1,000, right?
So those figures, the extra money that you base, that have this, you know, added to the steps, aren't included in the, I'm so sorry. Because when I look at the, I know, I've gotta do this to just be able to read it, I'm sorry. But I was looking at,
Let's find year whatever.
yeah, exactly, like,
Let's find year 6.
Right.
Just froze.
and then I have,
Okay, what's 33,990 and 14?
33,490 and 33,390,
33,990.
990 and 410
Yeah.
is 34,400.
$34,400.
Big Chief tablet number 2. That's
No, well, I gave the wrong one.
See, that's
No, I didn't, I gave you the wrong one.
bad, Joe.
that's what happened.
Yep. I don't know. I have no, this is not the, I mean, I don't have any idea what's wrong with this one, but it's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
because that's when I started to go. Thank you. Sorry, I just, it makes it more understandable whenever, if I can just see it in the numbers. Okay, so if we have, like, one of the added on steps was step
Well-
16, 21,
doesn't sound like a lot.
682,000.
682,000 sounds like a lot.
so that was 43. That's step 22.
125.
And did you say non-certified move like the same way? I mean, is it, or do they get, they'll get up the same amount of money?
No, it's not the same amount. Their longevity step, like in between year 5 and year 10 is 310. But then at year 10,
So what's
it's
kind of the
410.
average? So what's kind of the average that they need to get?
Oh,
Mhm.
I didn't figure that out, but I know, you're adding $15.
Right, but
You're
it
adding
used to be
$15
this.
to that, so
That's,
Okay, so that's
probably,
40,
I'd hate to say, but it'd be a guess.
85, okay.
Yeah.
610. Okay, thank you.
But what I'm proposing would,
Okay, so if you're at step 21, this is the new salary,
So if we,
and this is the old salary.
so if we drop
Increase
25
to
students,
17.
just say we drop 25 students, it's $125,000.
Well, it was,
So would you budget this off of the revenue, all the kinds of students, this last year?
budget off, no, I budgeted off, yeah, I
He's
do.
hopeful, he's hopeful.
I always move the state revenue based on what our ADA numbers are going to be, so you know, the year that we were operating this year, it's gone, I can't go back and get it, so I put it on year, what is this, this is year 16, 17, one before, 2 years before that, so that'd be 13, 14.
Plus insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
You based it off of that.
Yeah, right, based on 13, 14, and that can't change, that's set in stone.
Right,
Because that's past the road, so. You know, the thing that would be good, and here's the other caveat to this, is you're also our pays are based on weighted ADA, okay? Number of free and reduced kids you have, number of LEP kids you have, and number of special ed kids you have, okay? Those thresholds change, so it used to be percentages, so if you had 38% of those kids, it might give you more money. So what the state goes and looks at is if they're running low on funds, they change those thresholds lower to drive more money into the formula. So it's kind of a win-lose type thing. In order to get more state aid, you may need to have more of those kids, which costs you more money to educate. So it's a double-edged sword.
You want to show the spreadsheet where we are, as far as pay schedule?
But we know we've dropped, what, 100 kids in the last 2 years? And so you're budgeting this next year off of 13, 14.
Which is before we lost the 100 kids.
Before we lost the 100
So
kids.
what we've got our fingers crossed is that we will add more kids this year, and then that low year will set out there. And if we have a high year this year, I can always use this year's numbers. I don't even have to use that low year.
Or you bypass it, but.
Right.
So that's kind of a big if.
Vacancy signs.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's always a scary thing to approve a deficit budget.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm
And we,
We're in trouble, we're gonna get in
If
trouble.
we're in there
you
already.
can't, you can't
We went from 18 to 15%.
estimate. We
Yeah,
might.
I understand.
Yeah.
What's the estimate of, okay, you said if we spend everything, but what is that?